Okay, right. We'll start off with looking at, say, a fairly big spreadsheet and the difficulties you have navigating through a spreadsheet, a fairly big spreadsheet. Folks, I'm gonna mute everybody. Is that okay? So
Yeah.
I'm not distracted, as long as I can see you all. And you can unmute yourselves at any time. So we'll have a fairly big spreadsheet here, okay? Now, I have deliberately adjusted the column width so that all the data is not visible at the moment. Now, last week we widened columns by doing a double click between, sorry, are you okay, Karina? All right, double click between two column headings. Now, because there are multiple columns that need adjusted, what we do to the top left hand corner, just bear with me till I get my annotate on so you can see, you can follow me easier. Right, top left hand corner of the window, we have a little triangle that's to the left of A and above 1. If we click on that, that selects all the cells within the worksheet. Now, all I have to do is double click between any two column headings. So I can do between A and B, B and C, C and D, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to double click. Notice how all the columns have adjusted in width to the exact width that it needs for the widest piece of text within each column. Now, that won't adjust the columns of any blank cells over at the right hand side. It's just a quick way of adjusting the columns, applying what's called auto fit. Now, this is a fairly big spreadsheet in that as I scroll down, notice how my headings all disappear from view, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to apply what's called a freeze pane. Now, my headings are on row 1. So the logic here is you highlight the row below your headings. So I'm going to highlight row 2. Now, if I go to view, sorry folks, I'm just dragging this toolbar over. I'm going to choose freeze panes, and I'm going to choose freeze panes again. I tend not to use the top row and first column bit because when you're doing both a horizontal and a vertical freeze together, it's easier to do it the way that I'm showing you here. So you highlight the row below your headings and click on freeze panes. So as I scroll down, do you see the headings are visible at all times? See that? Now that's doing a basic horizontal freeze. Now I'm going to unfreeze that for a minute. So if I go back to my freeze panes, I'm going to say unfreeze panes. Now, again, this spreadsheet has a lot of data. And if we scroll to the right hand side, you'll notice that I'm losing my names in columns A and B. So I don't know what this data relates to or who it relates to. So what I need to do in this case, I want to freeze columns A and B so that as I scroll right, I can always see my names. So the logic here, folks, you highlight the column to the right of the ones that you want to freeze. So if I want to freeze columns A and B, I'm going to highlight column C, okay? Again, we're in the View tab already. Freeze panes, freeze panes. Now, I'm going to scroll to the right and watch how columns A and B remain visible at all times as I scroll. Now, I have cancelled the horizontal freeze, so as I scroll down my page, I've lost my headings. So I'm going to unfreeze the vertical option that I've just done. Now, in this case, I want to apply both the horizontal and the vertical together. You think I'm giving you all a blessing there. So I want to do the horizontal and vertical together. Now, the logic here, folks, if I want to freeze columns A and B, where am I going? C, isn't that right? So keep that in your head a wee second. And if I want to freeze row 1, where my headings are at, what row am I going to? B2, isn't that right? So you've given me a cell reference there. So that is cell C2. So if I click on cell C2, I'm not highlighting columns, I'm not highlighting rows, one single cell. So click on cell C2, freeze panes, freeze panes. Now, as I scroll down, notice my headings are static. I'm going to scroll to the right. Notice my names are static and visible at all times. If you can try and remember, if you want to do both the horizontal and vertical together, try and remember it's just one single cell that you need to go into. That okay? That's really useful, folks, if you're working with large amounts of data. Now, I'm going to move to the next sheet here, and we're going to look at a couple of other functions. Now, the only functions that we used last week was the Autosum function. Now, a function is a preset formula. With a function, you don't physically have to key in the equal sign first, okay? Now, what we're going to do here, this is a wee exercise that we did last week, okay? But I've added a few more labels in here. So the first thing we're going to calculate here is the total discount. Now, the discount column is column C. Now, if I bring up my function as being the Autosum function, I'm going back to my home tab here. Okay, we've used the Autosum function last week. Now, from the home tab over in the editing group, we have our Autosum. So if I click on Autosum, notice how Autosum highlights the cells immediately above the current cell that I'm in. I'm in cell B13, and that's where I want my answer. The problem there is Excel has made the assumption that I want to add together B2 through to B12, all the basic prices. I don't want to add those. I want to add all the discount figures. So all I have to do at this point, notice that my B2 to B12 in the function is highlighted. I basically turn around and highlight my own range. So if I just highlight the range that I want to add, notice how it changes within the function. Do you see that? Press the Enter key to see the result. So if we look in the formula bar, the sum of C2 to C10. That all right? Now I'm going into the cell below that. I'm going to go into cell B14. Now this time I want to add up. No, I don't want to add. I want to find the highest basic price. So I want to use a function called max. Now, can you notice on the Autosum button, there's a little down arrow? Do you see that wee down arrow? If we click on that wee down arrow, that gives us our everyday functions, the average, count, min, max, etc. So I'm going to choose max. Now again, Excel has highlighted the number immediately above, and it stopped at that point because there's two blank cells there. Now I want to find the maximum basic price, so I'm not going to accept the assumption that Excel has given me, B13. I'm going to go and highlight the range that I want to find the maximum of. So I'm going to highlight all my basic price figures. And like any function, press the Enter key to display your answer. Now, the next function, I'm in cell B15. Now, the previous cell picked me up the highest of my basic price figures. I want to use the opposite this time, and I want to find the lowest basic price figure. So I'm going to use the min function. Now, again, I'm going back to the down arrow on the Autosum button. So if I click here, I'm going to choose min. Again, Excel makes an assumption. That's not the cells that I want to use. So at this point, I'm physically going to go and highlight the cells that I want to use. So that's my range. Press the Enter key to display the answer. Okay. The next function we're going to have a look at is the average function. Again, I'm in cell B16. I'm going to click on the down arrow to the right of Autosum, and I'm going to choose average. Now, I'm being awkward here. I want to find the average selling price. So again, I'm not going to accept the assumption that Excel has provided me with. I'm going to highlight all my selling price figures and press the Enter key to display the answer. So that's my average of all the selling prices. Now, the next one, somebody's just left there. The next one I'm going to have a look at, number of items. Now, I'm going to look at a couple of functions here, just show you how these will work. If we click on the down arrow to the right of Autosum, you have a function there called count numbers. Now, there's no such function as called count numbers. That's basically saying that function is used when you're counting cells containing numbers. So you might have, for example, a list of checks, a list of invoice numbers, etc., and you want to count how many of each you have. So I'm going to choose count numbers here. Okay, now I'm going to highlight all the figures for each of these items, say the basic price figures, and press the Enter key. Now it tells me there are 9 items. Do you see that? It's not adding them up, it's counting each cell containing a number. Now, if I wanted to count these items here, the text items, now relate that back to, say, a number of employees, a list of employees, or perhaps suppliers or customers, and you want to do a count of how many you have. Now, if your data is text, you use a function called count A. All right. Now, let's look in the formula bar of the cell that we're currently in. I highlighted all those figures. Now, if we look in the formula bar, we used a function called count. But if we want to count the number of text items, that won't work for us. We need to use a function called count A. Now, I'm going to delete the answer that I have in cell B17. Now, this time, I'm going to go to my Insert Function button. Okay, do you see the wee FX here? That's my Insert Function. Every single function that you have in Excel, you will get it here in the Insert Function. I tend to use that wee down arrow in Autosum for the bog standard everyday functions. Everything else, I would tend to go to my Insert Function button. So I'm going to go to Insert Function. You get a little box that says type a brief description of what you want to do and click Go. The function I want to use is called count A. So I'm going to type in count A. Okay, now it doesn't matter if you type it in uppercase, lowercase, it's not case sensitive. You see, I've typed the word count followed by an A. So I'm going to click on Go. And if you look at the bottom, Excel has provided me with two functions that they're suggesting may be the ones that I want to use. There's my count A function. That's the one I want. I'm simply going to OK that. Now, Excel's making an assumption here. And again, that's not the assumption that I want to use. I want to count the number of items that I have for sale. So I'm going to highlight from the word chair down to armchair. Okay. Now you'll see a little preview here of the answer. We don't need anything in value 2 because we're only counting one range. So I'm going to OK that. And you see the way that tells me there are 9 text items. So if you're counting cells containing numeric data, you use count. If you're counting cells containing text, you use count A. That all right? Are you all okay with that? So we've recapped the AutoSum there. We've used max, we've used min, we've used average, and we've used count and count A. Okay? All happy enough so far? Right. Now, I'm going to move on to the next sheet, which is our paste special sheet. Now, when you copy data in Microsoft Excel that has been generated using a formula and paste it elsewhere, this is what you're likely to get. Now, if I click in the first cell here in cell E4 where I have a formula, now I have simply multiplied the unit price here by the quantity sold to get my totals. That all right? So I'm going to highlight my total figures and I'm going to copy them. I'm just going to do Control and C to copy. And let's say I want to bring those figures further down my spreadsheet. I'm going to click in a cell. And if I want to do, I'm going to use a standard paste to see what happens. So Control and V for Victor is paste. Now, do you notice what has happened here? I'm getting a ref error because I've done a copy and paste. Excel does not like a straightforward copy and paste where the data that you're copying contains formulas. That okay? So what I'm going to do here, okay, I'm going to undo, Control and Z to undo. Now, I'm going to highlight my data. In fact, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll highlight the whole data here, okay? Now, I'm going to use a little shortcut. Click once within your data. If you're using a standard computer keyboard, hold down the Control key and press the little star, the little asterisk on the number keypad. If you're using a laptop that doesn't have a number keypad on the right-hand side, use your Control, Shift and the asterisk. And you see the way that highlighted my range automatically? Now that's really useful if you have a fairly big range of data there. Now I have copied that data. Now we're going to look at one of Excel's special tools called Paste Special. So I'm going to copy in the normal way, Control and C to copy. Now I'm going to go down further down the spreadsheet. I'm going to right click this time. Do you see the option for Paste Special? You have a number of paste specials here, the little commands, or you can go through the actual paste special dialog box. So I'm going to go through one or two of these initially, and then we'll go in and have a look at the paste special dialog box. Right, so the first command is your straightforward paste. Now, the second command over is paste values. Now, I'm going to choose paste values and I'm going to show you what happens here. Right, notice I've copied this data. I've used paste special and I basically have brought the data over here. Your data has come over with absolutely no formatting. Do you see my dates? Okay, they've reverted back to a serial number. All my currencies have disappeared as well. That okay? So that's using the values option. Now, I'm going to undo that a wee second, Control and Z. I just want you to see a couple of these. Right, so I'll highlight my data again. I'm going to copy it. Okay, right click and again, paste special. In fact, I'm going to come out of that one wee second. Right, what I'll do, instead of copying all the data, I'm going to copy my formulas here. And I have a second table over on the right hand side here. And let's say I want to bring the same formulas that I have here over to this table. So I'm going to copy, highlight, right click, and I can click third wee command over is formulas. Now notice I'm going to click on the first cell here, look in the formula bar. So it has multiplied the first unit price by the quantity sold. Do you all see that? Do you want me to repeat that again, just to see? Control Z, undo. Press the escape key when you've got the wee running, they're called running ants around data when you've copied it. So I'm going to highlight my data. I'm going to copy, Control and C. Right click where you want it to go. And I'm going to use the third option over, which is formulas. So you see the formulas have updated. Now, that's using paste special. Now, let's say I have a spreadsheet and I want like a summary sheet. Maybe I've half a dozen, maybe I have accounts for 12 months a year and I have like a summary sheet at the end and I want the total from each sheet, say, into a summary sheet. But I want the totals in such a way that if any of the figures update in any of the sheets, that my totals will be correct at any given time. In that case, we use what's called paste link. Now, I have a second sheet here, a paste special second sheet. So what I'm going to do here, I'm basically going to link the totals from both these tables into this sheet in such a way that if I go back and change, say, a unit price or the quantity, my totals will update automatically here. But because I link my data, it will automatically link or update on the overall totals. So again, I'm going to highlight the first, this is week 1 totals. So I'm going to copy that, straightforward copy that part of it. I'm going to go to the paste special, the second sheet. I'm going to right click the destination cell where I want my first lot of data to go. Now, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to physically click on the words paste special to bring up my paste special dialog box. Now, can you notice the little paste special button at the very bottom? If I click on that, okay, that has brought my figures over. Now, I'm going to click on one of these cells and we're going to look in the formula bar. So, looking in the formula bar, do you see the word paste special? That relates me back to the sheet that my data was taken from. And the cell E4 is the cell containing my data. So do you notice as I move down, the cell reference changes. The sheet reference remains the same, but the cell reference changes here. I'm going to go back to my pay special sheet. I'm going to copy the totals for the week 2. I'm going to highlight, copy in the normal way, Control and C. Go to the pay special or the sheet where you want it to go. Again, I'm going to click in the cell, my destination cell, right click, and I'm going to click on the words Paste Special. I'm going to come down to the very bottom, my paste link again. Okay, hashes, remember your hashes just mean your column's not wide enough. Go up between C and D and double click. Now, watch how this works. If I go back to my original source sheet, right, let's say the figure for this product, I have shown 56. Let's say there was really 250 of them sold. Okay, so I'm going to overtype the 56 with 250. Now watch how the total on the right hand side updates once I move out of the cell. Now again, widen my column. Do you see it's come up to 11,000 odd? If I go back to my sheet where I have linked those figures, do you see how that updates itself? Folks, that is really, really useful if you have like a summary sheet. If any of you are working for a small business or keeping your own accounts, and you maybe have a spreadsheet where you have each month's income or expenditure, and you want to do like a summary sheet at the end, you can copy the totals at the bottom of each sheet, and you can use your Pay Special, and you can link them into say like a summary sheet. Really, really useful, folks. Now, that's a couple of Pay Specials. Now I'm going to show you another Pay Special which is really useful as well. Right, if I highlight, say, these product codes, again, I'm going to copy and I'm going to right click. I'm going to click on my Pay Special. Can you notice a little tick box that says transpose at the bottom here? Put a little tick in that box and OK that. Do you notice that it changes your row and column headings around? Do you see? My data was stored via column and it has placed them in the rows. Again, that is really useful. The number of times that I've done this with people and they've said, I can't believe how easy that is. Maybe where people were taking data from a spreadsheet onto another spreadsheet that was laid out slightly differently, where you need to change your row and column headings around. Now, if I take the totals here, okay, again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy, go to my destination cell wherever I want them to go. I'm going to right click, Paste Special, and I'm going to say transpose and OK that. Now, do you see where I'm getting value? What's happened? Why am I getting value? Because there's a formula there, isn't there? Okay, so I cannot do a straightforward copy and paste, which is what I've done, even though I've used transpose. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to undo that. Right click where I want my data to go. Paste Special. I can use my transpose, okay, but I need to choose one of the options up here as well. Otherwise, I'm going to get an error because there are formulas. Now, I can bring over values, okay, and okay that. Now, what has happened to my figures? I brought over values, but it hasn't taken over the currency. All right, so that's not particularly good. So Control Z. I just want you to see some of the various options for Pay Special. I'm going to right click again, Pay Special. Again, I am transposing. Now, what I'm suggesting that we use this time is the option where it says values and number formats. Okay, so I'm taking the figures and I'm taking the formatting, but I'm not physically taking over the formula. That all right? So values and number formats, and okay that. And I'll widen my columns. Now, if I click in any cell that I've just brought the figures over, look in the formula bar, there's a value there, there's no formulas. Do you see that? So I've done a paste special and I've basically brought over the values. I haven't brought the formulas, and that's fine. I'm happy with that. Now, I'm going to show you another way of paste special. And this is a way a lot of people don't realize you can use paste special for. In fact, I'm going to open a brand new workbook. Control and N for new. Okay. So that's exactly the same shortcut you'll use in Microsoft Word or PowerPoint or whatever. Now, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put some figures down. So I'm going to say 5, 10. I'm going to highlight both those figures. I'm going to use my fill handle. I'll go down as far as 20. Remember last week, you always show Excel the pattern of 2 before you copy numbers down. So that's why I typed in 5 first and then 10 to show Excel the pattern that I want to use. So I highlighted both. I used the fill handle from the bottom. Now, let's say their prices for a product that we sell. And let's say the boss has said, look, we need to increase our prices by 10%. Now, I'm not physically going to do a calculation. I'm going to cheat a wee bit. I'm going to use an option in Paste Special that people don't realize you can use here. So in any cell, it doesn't matter where it goes, I'm going to type in the figure 1.1. Now, that figure 1.1 represents your 100% plus 10% on top of it. Is that okay? So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to copy that 1.1. I'm going to highlight all my figures. I'm going to right click, paste special. Now, do you see under the heading operation, I have an option there for multiply. You see that? So if I click on multiply and okay that, it basically multiplies all my figures by my percentage here, which is 110% if you like. I've done it as a decimal. You could have typed in 110%, be exactly the same thing. So I'm going to do that again. Okay. So I have my figure in. I'm going to right click and I'm going to copy. I'm going to highlight all my prices. I'm going to right click and clicking on the words Paste Special. And I am going to say multiply and okay that. That okay? That's actually quite useful, folks. Did that work? Did you see that? Do you want me to do it again?
So we can see the new sheet.
Oh, oh, sorry, here. I haven't shared it with you, that's why. Okay. Bear with me. Okay. All right. Right. I'm going to go right back. I'll delete everything. Okay. 5 and 10. Highlight both my figures. Use the fill handle and fill down. Go into any cell anywhere. And this is where I'm going to put my increase, my 1.1. Right click on the 1.1 and copy. highlight all my figures, right click, paste special, multiply, and OK that. Now, can you see all the figures now? They're all increased by 10%. Now, what you can do with that as well, I'm just going to bring up the paste special. You can add a figure. So say you work for a company and they add £5 or £10 on for carriage. You can say add £10 to my figures. You can say subtract. You have your multiply and you have your divide. It's just another way of using paste special that a lot of people don't realise. That okay? Is that something new to you all? Right, so I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to close that new sheet. Sorry about that, folks. And we'll go back to the original sheets. Is that okay? It's okay, I'm going to reshare again. You all see my sheet again? The original one? Brilliant. So that was my paste special, folks. Now, I'm going to introduce you to a brand new item in Excel 2000 from 2013 onwards, and it's called Flash Fill. Now, imagine you have, say, 2,000 names listed, and the boss has said to you, would you mind putting those all in alphabetical order by surname? Now, do you see my names? They're not in alphabetical order at the minute because the first and surname are all in one cell. So what I'm going to do, I have a blank cell to the right of my joined names. I'm going to type the first person's first name, press the Enter key, type the first letter only of the second person. See the way I didn't type the whole word? I did one letter. And you see the little shadow? The rest of the names coming up automatically. All I do at this point is press my Enter key. Isn't that good? Now, in the next column over, I'm going to put the first person's surname, which is mine. Press the Enter key. Now, see the way I'm saying press the Enter key? Do press the Enter key. Don't use your mouse to move into the next cell, okay? And again, the first letter of the next person. Do you see the way it's coming up automatically? Now, sometimes if you have, for example, let's say the second person, let's say somebody was called Jones and somebody was called, give me another J name, whatever, another J, so that they have the same initials. It won't follow up, so you'll have to do a third one just to show Excel the pattern that's going to happen. Press the Enter key. Do you notice how the surnames go in automatically? Now, another option here, again using Flash Fill, I'm going to do a capital P, capital H. Okay, I'm using the person's initials. Press the Enter key. Again, one letter. I'm not doing anything else. Press the Enter key. The next column over. What I'm going to do the surname first and then the first name. So I'm going to do Heinz. Oh, sorry, I finished that off. Do you see? You set the pattern. Excel will follow that pattern. Now, next one over, I'm going to say, right, I want the surname, comma, space, and the first name. So Good, isn't it? And then something as simple as changing the case. See? In Excel, if you automatically, maybe you have everything in uppercase or lowercase, and you want to change a different case. In any other application, in Microsoft Word, you can go to the format and you can say, look, change this case for me, but not in Excel. In Excel, there are functions that will do it for you, but this flash fill will do it for you automatically. It's really, really useful. As I say, hopefully at some stage, it'll save you time. So that's your flash fill. Conditional formatting. Conditional formatting is basically color coding your data if your data matches conditions that you set. So you might have maybe expenditure and you're sort of thinking, I need to keep an eye on that. I need to keep an eye that that doesn't go over budget. So you're basically color coding your data. Excuse me 1 wee second, I'm going to start coughing. Sorry, folks. This is basically color coding your data. Now, I don't physically mean that you highlight your data, you go to your paint pot and say, oh, I want to highlight them all yellow, or oh, I want to highlight them all red. You have a tool in Microsoft Excel that will apply your color for you. And as that your data changes, your color coding will change automatically. So what I'm going to do with my data here, I'm going to highlight all my figures. I've just marked a couple of rules here on the right hand side, what we're going to do. So basically I'm going to say, the first rule, we're going to say that any figures below 20,000 are bad. So we're going to say are red. And then we're going to say anything between 20 and 30 are amber. Again, this is using what's called the traffic light system. And a lot of businesses use traffic light systems within Microsoft Excel. So, and the third rule saying any values greater than 30,000 are good, so they're green. Now, we're still in the Home tab, folks. So from the Styles group, we have a tool here, Conditional Formatting. So I'm going to click on the Conditional Formatting tool, and the very first command there says Highlight Cell Rules. Now, the first one that we're going to do is this one here, where it says values less than 20,000 are going to be red. So highlight your data, Conditional Formatting, highlight cell rules, choose the option less than. Now, Excel basically will put a figure in there that represents an average of the range that you've highlighted. Now, that's not what I want to use. I want to set my own limits here. So I'm going to type in 20,000. Now, again, with conditional formatting, it will automatically default to the color red. Now, red's fine for now, for this rule. I'm happy enough for that. So I simply OK. Now, look at my data. Do you see any of the figures below 20,000 have been color coded red? So with the same range highlighted, folks, when you're trying this out yourself, people have a tendency to highlight the data, do the first rule, and then they tend to click away from their data and wonder why it's not working. Make sure you have the same range highlighted when you go to apply your second rule. So conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, and this time we're going to say between. So we're going to go between 20 and 30,000 and we're going to make it amber. So I'm going to type in 20,000 in my first box. I've used the tab key, or you can click in the box and type the second figure, and that is 30,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now this time, see the way it defaulted to red again? I'm going to choose the option yellow, which I'm going to use for amber. Do you notice? And okay that. Again, same range highlighted. I'm going to do rule number 3, and I'm going to say anything above 30,000 is going to be green. Conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, greater than 30, 1, 2, 3, and change the color to green. And okay that. Now, let's test this out. Let's say that figure there, okay, it's sitting at 40,000 odd. Let's say I've made a mistake, and let's say that figure should just be 10,678, okay? So if I double click, I'm going to change that 4 to a 1. Do you notice how the color changed? I'm going to undo that. You see it was green before. Okay, the data changes, you see? Now we'll take one of the green ones, or sorry, one of the red ones, and we'll make it bigger. So let's say the that 12,000 odd should be 42. So I'm going to go and change that first number from 1 to 4. Do you notice how it changed to green? I'll just undo. It was red, and I'll redo. So that's where conditional formatting is really good. You set those conditions, and as your data changes, your colors change automatically without you physically having to go in and color coding. Right, another option for conditional formatting. Right, let's say I have been using a spreadsheet and I've been away from the spreadsheet and somebody else has been in behind me. And I'm concerned that somebody has put in the records that I've already put in before. So I want to use conditional formatting to basically flag up any records that have been duplicated. So again, highlight your data. I've highlighted just the names. Conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, across and down to duplicate values. Okay, see, there's me red again, and okay that. You can change the colour, folks, that you like to any of those, or you can go down to your own custom format. You can go to fill and you can choose your own colour. You don't have to choose the preset ones, and okay that. So do you see where it is basically highlighted my duplicates? Folks, that's really useful if you're say comparing two lists. You might have a list in one column and a second column. You can highlight both those columns and you can say, right, show me who has been duplicated in both those columns. That okay? Now, another example. Right, so this is an example where we're working with dates. Now, we have, say, a date where an invoice has been issued. Now, I have just added a formula in the column to the right of that as being a due date. So I have basically said, take this date and add 30 days on. Okay, I'll just clear that a wee second just to see the actual formula that I used. So equal the date that the invoice was issued, and I'm simply going to say plus 30. Okay, so say your terms are 30 days. Okay, so if we go back in and fill down. Okay, I can hear a lot of clapping there, folks. It's obviously 8 o'clock for the National Health Service. So what we're going to do, we're going to apply some conditional formatting to our dates here. And we're going to say, look, show us which of these invoices are due for payment this week. Conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, across and down to where it says a date occurring. Now, we have different options here. You have yesterday, today, tomorrow, in the last 7 days, last week, this week, next week, etc., etc. I'm going to say this week. Okay. Oh, that's last week, this week. And okay, that. So that has basically showed me what invoices are due for payment this week. Now, when you apply conditional formatting, you're basically applying color coding. But what you can do with that color, imagine you have thousands, a couple of thousand records here, and you only want to pull out, say, the invoices that are due for payment today. Do you remember we did our filtering last week? Now, this is another option where you may want to do your filtering. So I'm going to highlight my headings here, name, invoice issued and date. I'm going to go back to my data tab exactly as we did last week, and I'm going to click on the filter button. Now, we filtered different options last week. I'm going to do something new for filtering with you tonight. To the right of the due date heading, I'm going to click on the down arrow, and do you see where it says filter by color? I can go and choose my color, and that just will extract just the invoices that are due this week. So last week we filtered by number, we filtered by date, we filtered by text, and there is an option there for filter by color as well. It's useful, isn't it? That's your conditional formatting. Now, I'll just run through very quickly just a couple other options for your conditional formatting. So we'll highlight this data again and come back to the Home tab. Conditional formatting. I'm going to say clear any conditional formatting rules that I've applied to this data. So do you see where it says clear rules from the selected cells? See the way they've gone? Now, let's go back, conditional formatting. Now, we've looked at some of these options here, all right? What I'm going to do, I'm going to look at the second option where it says top and bottom rules. Now, let's say you have got prices for something, for a product or for a job, and you're thinking, right, I want to see the cheapest 3 prices. So I'm going to choose top and bottom rule option. I'm going to go and say bottom. Now it uses the number 10, but that's only a guide. You basically put your own number in there. So bottom 10 items, I'm going to change the number 10 to 3. And okay that. So it has basically highlighted the 3 cheapest prices there. Will we do the, go back in again, top and bottom rules. And let's say I want to see the dearest. So I'm going to say top 10 items. And again, I'm going to say 3. And I'll change the color just so you can see. And okay. So there are the bottom items and the top items. Conditional formatting is really useful, folks. In the old version of Excel, back from 1997, right up as far as 2007, when the whole ribbon area came in, you could apply 3 conditions using conditional formatting. In the new versions of Excel from 2007 onwards, you can apply over 65 conditions. So that just shows you how that's been developed. Every single organization I go into uses conditional formatting and uses it a lot. Now, I'm going to highlight these items. Again, I can apply conditional formatting, and I'm going to apply to text this time. So highlight cell rules, and I'm going to say text that contains. So if I want, I'm going to say, what I've got, manager, I'm going to say manager. So I want to highlight all the managers, say green. So anywhere that has the word manager, you see health and safety manager has come in, as well as the ordinary manager, it will basically flag it up for you. Happy enough with that? Conditional formatting is absolutely brilliant. Now, this will get you, either keep you awake or put you to sleep. This is what's called an absolute cell reference. Now, this is a spreadsheet we did last week, folks, the wee weekly budget one. Excuse me. I promise there's not vodka in it. So we have our formulas here. Do you remember last week we used the control and toggle keys to display the formulas? So that's our formulas. I want you to look particularly, I suppose, at the last couple of columns. Now, we have done one formula in each of these columns, and we've used our fill handle to copy the formula down. Now, notice how Excel changes cell reference automatically. Do you see F3 to F4, 5, 6, 7, and 8? Do you notice that? And the same here, F3 plus G3, these two cells, we only use the fill handle and it moved down a cell. Okay, so Excel is using what's called, that's called a relative cell reference. Now I'm going to introduce you to what's called an absolute cell reference. And don't panic and don't sort of scratch your head and think, what the hell is she on about? Now, I'm going to do a calculation here that will calculate what percentage each of these items is based on the overall total. So I'll just get me spotlighter back. So I've put a percentage symbol here in a blank cell. I'm about to do a calculation, so I'm going to say equals. Click in the cell containing the first figure you want to use. I'm going to use the divide by symbol, and I'm going to click in the overall total. Okay? Press the enter key. Now, that's a decimal, and that's fine at the minute. We'll change it into percentages at the end. Now, if I go back into this first cell, use my fill handle to fill down, I'm getting a divide by error. Now, if I display my formulas, control and toggle, let's have a look and see why we're getting a divide by error. Now, in the first cell, we're dividing H3 by H8, and there's nothing wrong with that. But Excel will automatically move down a cell in both parts of the formula. So if I click in the next cell, Excel thinks I want to divide H4 by H9. Is there anything in H9? It's empty. That's why we're getting a divide by error. And again, you see the way it's moving down a cell in both parts of the formula? Now, that's fine for 70% of the time in Excel, but for the other 30%, you don't want that to happen. I'm going to just hide my formulas again. Right, so I'm back in the cell where I want my answer, which is cell I3. Key in the equal sign. Select the first cell you want to use, which is H3, divided by H8. Now, I have two cell references here, H3 divided by H8. One of those cells I don't want to change as I use my fill handle to fill down. Is it the H3 or is it the H8? Well, shout. I'm listening.
H3.
Right. 50% there. All right. It's the H8 bit. Okay. So it's the overall total that I don't want to change. Okay. So I'll go back in here. We're pretending there's nothing in here. So equal H3 divided by H8. Now, when you click in the cell that you don't want to change, you use a shortcut to fix that cell. Now, the shortcut on a standard keyboard is the F4 key at the top of the keyboard. So if I just F4. So if I press it once, notice my $sign before the H and my $sign before the 8. Okay? To see my result, press the Enter key. Now if I go back in, fill down, do you see the way I don't have a divide by any longer? I've decimals. I'm going to hit percentage here, and that converts my decimals to percentage. Do you want me to run over that one again just?
Yeah.
Right, I'll delete that one. Don't worry, everybody sort of struggles a bit with that one. Okay, so equal H3. H3 is fine, so we don't need to worry about it. Divided by H8. Do you see? Now, at this point, because I've clicked on H8, it's the one I'm currently in. That's the one I want to fix. So if I press the F4 key, it puts my $sign before the H and $sign before the 8. Press the Enter key, go back in and fill down. Now I'll just display the formulas just so you see. So can you see? H3 divided by H8, H4 divided by H8, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's what's known as an absolute cell reference. Now folks, even for your own benefit, even if you see a spreadsheet sometime and you see a $sign in a spreadsheet in the formula, that's basically what your $signs represent, an absolute cell reference. Now, I know I've thrown that in at the end just a wee bit to try and confuse you a wee bit, but it is something that you will see, I promise you, in spreadsheets. You know, if somebody's using spreadsheets, you will find it is used quite a bit. Folks, any questions on anything that we've done tonight? I'm going to unmute you all. Shout.
It was was it Flash? I can't see it here.
Flash fill?
Yeah. Where did you go about getting that, if you know what I mean, on the display on the ribbon?
You don't actually have to get it on the ribbon.
Right,
it goes up automatically. Right, if I just delete that, okay? So you literally just type in.
Right, so it just comes up automatically then.
See that?
Yeah.
Not
right,
handy.
There's nowhere you have to go to you know, set it up or
literally
anything.
No.
That's
Typing will do it. Now sometimes you have a listen and think, why has that not happened? Now I'll just show you folks, because this is what sometimes what people do. Right, they're sitting typing, they keep on typing, and they basically cancel it. You see what I've just done? If that does happen, what you do is you highlight where you want your flash fill to go. And the shortcut for flash fill is Control and the letter E. E for Ernie. You see? So if you've been typing and you've cancelled it, highlight where you want the flash fill to go, Control and E, and that basically will apply your flash fill. It's good, isn't it?
Fantastic.
Anybody any questions? Have I confused the issue tonight?
No. Very, very good.
Do you like conditional formatting?
Yes.
Yeah, amazing.
Your paste special, folks, if you're using if you are using spreadsheets at all, you will use paste special. You cannot do a straightforward copy and paste where your data has been generated using a formula. Are you all happy enough?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Very
Folks,
good, thank you.
I'm just going to stop this recording.
Okay.